All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome again to Pankration Philosophy. We got another video episode here, episode 147. So shout out to all the people. Thank you for listening, watching, tuning into the show. You can, if you like the show, you can support us on Patreon, patreon.com/Pankration. Shout out to the people that have decided to sponsor the show. We got my Turkmenistan friend, Rustam Hamamedov, got my homie Tom Kravitz, and also got our Chinese philanthropist Big Wang supporting the show. And yeah, thank you to my friend on SoundCloud, Floating Forest, giving us the intro music for the show. And yeah, with that out of the way, let's talk about the guest I have today. He was recommended, from previous guest Vlad, and we got Andrew Muller. What's up, man? How are you?
No, it's good. Hey, I got an additional sponsor for the show here too.
Oh yeah, nice.
So, if you don't mind me just jumping right into that.
Yeah, just go right into it, man.
Well,
What
awesome.
is it?
So, I'm a marketing guy, just like Vlad. I run
Yeah.
Facebook, Google Ads. So I was able to get Facebook to sponsor this episode.
Oh, nice.
I'll just do the ad read here.
Okay.
Are you sick and tired of running your own Facebook ads only to find out that you have a negative return on investment compared to your ad spend?
Mhm.
Do you wish that there was someone available who could waste your ad spend for you rather than you spending countless hours of your own time to throw thousands of dollars down Facebook's gnarling jaws? Introducing Facebook Marketing Experts, a revolutionary new way to throw advertising dollars down the drain. Facebook Marketing Experts will reach out to you via email to tell you that you've been selected for a, quote, special program, unquote, from Facebook, where we will offer you advice on how to optimize your Facebook account into oblivion. Feature 1, need advice on how to spend 100% of your ad budget without worrying about actually getting a return? Check. Feature 2, want constantly changing account managers so you never get to know one person and they don't know you either. We've got you covered there. Feature 3, do you like booking appointments with a rep only to find that they're on vacation that day and no one notified you, wasting precious meeting time on your calendar that you could have used for important calls? Don't worry, Facebook Marketing Experts have got that too. Legal disclaimer, the term expert is used as a job title for our customer support representatives. We make no claims of legitimate expertise based on training or education, and we make no claims of being able to improve your account performance or revenue generated from your advertising accounts. Facebook Marketing Experts. Don't do it by yourself. We'll waste your ad dollars for you. Thanks, Facebook, for that sponsor. I really appreciate you guys supporting the show. Anyways, yeah. So I used to run a comedy podcast.
Okay, nice.
So we had about 60 episodes. It was called Real Movies with Real Men.
Real Movies with Real Men.
Yeah, we had our logo was like it was like the Arnold Schwarzenegger arm in Predator.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the handshake. Yeah.
Yeah.
You
So
son of a bitch.
Oh man, I love that logo so much. But yeah, so it's like 3 scrawny white nerds. Yeah, I had a lot of ad reads. I had one. We reviewed the new Independence Day movie one time. So the ad read was for Sin-Dependence Day, where intergalactic missionaries come to Earth to convert them to Christianity, only to find instead of being able to enslave humanity with their religion, that humanity was already enslaved by their sins. And so on and so on. So
cool. So real movies with real men. And I guess like what spawned that podcast, or how did you guys come up with the theme?
Yeah. I'm a big Tim and Eric fan.
Okay.
If not, obviously, if that's not pretty clear,
if that's not apparent.
Yeah, so I did we started with a skit. We did like what was the Marvel movie? It was one of the Captain America. I think it was Civil War.
Civil War. Okay.
So I got the local theater to let us use the after we did this footage, and it's very satirical, right? You're bumbling over yourselves. You're just making up stuff. Our main joke was that these Marvel movies, that there's so many superheroes you can't even keep track of them. Like
Yeah.
so I'm like, oh, there was Pocket Man. He can make pockets in anything. There's the Wheel.
The Wheel.
You're just bumbling through all of these different potential superheroes, and at the end of filming, the producer's like, there is no usable footage out of anything that we took in this. And I took it back and I edited it, and I brought it back, and he was like, I cannot believe that you edited something so coherent and funny out of this. So the podcast ended up not being really a satirical thing. It was actually more just a straight up comedy podcast, rather than completely sarcastic about everything. But so I don't know. I think I was just trying to come up with a really stupid pun for the initial one, which was I think we had spelt real like an REEL.
Yes.
Which is like just a really obvious lame dad joke, and then I think the lameness of it became more thematic than silly, so we didn't stick with that spelling for the real show. But I wrote the theme song for it, and kind of same thing as so anyways, sorry, now you know what I'm up to. I do marketing, and I used to have this stupid podcast.
So I guess on the marketing aspect, Andrew, like how'd you get started in that?
Have you ever done drywall before?
Like make drywall or like brick?
Have you ever like sheetrock, like put up drywall in the house?
Yes, actually I have.
That?
Pretty boring.
Yeah, it's an awful job with for a guy with ADHD. It's like, I know some people can kind of let their minds wander when they're doing a monotonous job, and my mind is wandering just, how can I escape the hell that I am in? I have no mouth and I cannot scream. So I just thought, I'm 16 years old. I'm going to graduate high school next year. I have got to find to do something other than drywalling, because that's what my parents are making me do. And I think it was like a clever ploy on their part. I don't think that they intended for a second that I would drywall. I think they wanted me to suffer. But if that was intentional,
it worked.
That is some genius shit. Yes, I mean, that was in 2008, I think. So I've done really everything in marketing at this point, which is not particularly interesting on its own, although I have all the horror stories. But what I started getting into was this idea of like hyper agile testing, which let me back up to the problem. The problem is that whether you're doing a podcast or you're promoting your band or your business or you have a new product, everybody's like, I'm good at this thing. Hey, I'm really good at making computer mice. I don't know, whatever you're good at. So I'm going to make my product and try to sell it. And you put all this infrastructure in place, or you're doing a podcast. Like, I mean, I did 2 episodes, and I think we had 500 listeners after 2.5 years of work, and that's not a lot for how much work I put into this fucking so being able to actually like pierce the market and come up with like some sort of winning message or some sort of winning product is very, very, very difficult to do. And the problem is, if you're already doing it, it's even harder, because now all your time is spent actually doing the thing. So I'm a fan of selling things before they even exist.
Okay.
So typically any sort of project, like, if you're going to do, I'm going to stick with podcasts because, keep it relevant, right? This is not primarily a business podcast. You can spend probably, 3 months preparing. It's like, okay, here's the type of show we're going to have. We're going to get the guy to make the theme song, maybe a few sponsors or something like that. And then you launch it, and then you're like, cross your fingers and hope that it
just
works.
like hope.
Yeah. So for me, it's kind of the opposite. It's like I launch on day one, and then I am quickly testing to see what people are reacting to. And then by month 3, I've actually already, built something up. So when it comes to like a business, it's very common for businesses to spend like $40,000 on a new web project or a new marketing campaign or something like that. Like, that is not uncommon in the slightest. Even in like my small butt fuck town nowhere, where there's like 50,000 people here, like businesses will still spend that much, by the time you have all this strategy work done. And then you launch it and it fails. And for me, I would rather spend a bunch of time testing out different messages, like on Facebook ads. I'll test like 200 messages in a month, and most people can, like, when they're trying to test messages for their website, like they spend a month just to get one or two, just to get
one or two messages.
Get a statistical significant reading of that. So usually by the time I'm iterating constantly. It's like I'm testing all these messages. If I'm making a sales letter, like every piece of like copy on that sales letter, I'll have tested in Facebook as a standalone phrase to see if it brought curiosity, if it made people click on it. So we call that like an agile method, where you're launching your project the first day, and it's like, okay, here's our crappy version, and then we're iterating and we're looking at user recordings and seeing, like on the podcast, you might be like, well, how far are people listening into the show? Where are they dropping off? Like, are they dropping off at the theme song? It's like, and then maybe you're like, oh, maybe what if we cut the theme song in half? Or what if we had like more of a spectacular intro or something like that? And you look at like those areas, you're like, oh, 50% of people dropped off all at this one spot in the podcast. And it's like, that's when I did my stupid fucking Facebook ad read. Oh, people hate these ad reads, So it's this really feedback oriented thing, but it's about making changes really, really quick. So, I do that mostly for business clients, but it's useful for musicians and stuff too. It's like, okay, well, like for example, I have this robot electronic pop act. And, I have like this big robot on my head that moves around. I have a sensor on my head, and I have like a microphone because I'm singing on stage. And then this robot's like a foot or two above me because I have this big structure around me, like using a hiking backpack, which sounds pretty bizarre. And this robot, he'll move around and open his mouth. Every time I sing, the volume goes to his mouth and then it'll open. And the sensor on my head will detect my movements left and right. And even if I like kind of turn myself with the accelerometer, kind of what's in your phone. So people can't see me because I'm kind of covered, like the man behind, like I got like a costume on so they can't see behind me. And I'll send you a screenshot of that or something. But so it's like, well, so if you're on stage, it's like, how do you describe that? Like, what's the ad that's going to get people to come and, maybe get into your list, or maybe like do your crowdfunding campaign or something like that. And I find it's, like I had this one quote that did really well, where it was kind of like a testimonial that I just did that. And it was like, I didn't realize how fucking humongous this robot would be. Right. And it's like, it draws some curiosity, right? So it's like, what's the best way to describe it? Like, what's the best way to, and you try to come with like a 3 or 4 word headline that'll really get people's attention. And I had like robotic art pop or something like that. Cause whatever. But usually the main thing is that most people take like a month to run these sorts of tests, and I do them in like 2 hours.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I work on really, really small data. Most people want big data. They're like, oh, I want 4,000 people to go to this page, so I get a 99% certainty. I'm like, no, 80-20. It's like, I only need 30, I need 30 people to get an 80% certainty on this test. And like, that's cheap. It's quick. The only thing that's expensive is my time, but whatever. So that sort of philosophy, I think, can go anywhere. Like, you don't have to just be like a marketer. Like, you guys are, if you're doing like MMA and stuff like that, like, I know that's kind of, I was looking down the memes on your for this, and it's like, if you can test out a lot of different things and have a flexible mindset, which I think is so hard until you're an expert. That to me is the most useful thing. It's like, how, like, I did like MMA for like 3 months. So like, I'm not
experienced martial artist, Andrew.
Yeah. I'm a total pro because of how fast I work. No, I was like, there's too many injuries in MMA, man. That's not good. So it's like, I could see you being like, okay, if you're stuck in a lock or like you're grappling, you could measure, this is just me like pie in the sky ideas. It's like, how many different escapes could I try in 10 seconds?
Yeah.
It's like could I do 5? Like, can I struggle into these different things? And it's like you could time yourself to like kind of test your flexibility, right?
Okay.
So for me, it's like if I'm doing marketing tests, it's like how many tests can I get done in a week? It's like I used to be able to do like 8, and it's like now I can do 18.
Oh wow!
So like I kind of have this little notebook, and I'm keeping up with it. If you see that movie, The Founder, when the McDonald's movie?
Oh yeah, McDonald's guy. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember they have that court, the tennis court, and they're drawing out the restaurant on it, and they're and like they put all the employees in, and they're like, how can we get these employees to move around the kitchen fast?
Like streamline it essentially. Yeah.
They're streamlining it, and like I think you can systematize even artistic accomplishments.
Interesting. Okay.
You can think about it in the right way, and to me, being agile is the right way to think about it.
Okay.
So, anyways, I've been going off for like 20 minutes here. So.
Yeah. No, so I think that is very fascinating for sure, like the agile way of developing and going about that. So I guess like how did you, or what about it like made you like realize that, oh, this is the way I want to do marketing?
Right.
Or like how did you develop that?
All the horror stories I mentioned. So I mentioned like you spend all this time planning, and then maybe the project is even a flop. I mean, like usually they're not total flops, but it's nice to get that validation. I mean, when I was kind of just someone who wasn't in charge, and people were just giving me ads to run, they're like, "Hey, just run this, you dummy."
Yeah.
And I just started to notice this pattern where it's like sometimes people would give me an idea and I would run their idea, and I don't get to change the idea. I think it might be dumb.
Yeah.
And just, even though I'm doing my job where I'm like optimizing these ads and I'm doing all the work that you're supposed to do, I just got wildly different results. And I mean, it seems like a pretty obvious point. It's like, yeah, somebody has a stupid idea and it's not going to go very far. But when you're kind of like, you have like the blinders on and you're just kind of trying to do your job, like the thing that you're paid for, it can be harder to see that. And I just have this tremendous sense of guilt where I'm just like, man, I'm spending all these ad dollars and like, they're just being wasted. And I just don't feel like there's anything I can do about it. So I was always looking for, it's like, have you ever read The 4-Hour Workweek?
Yes, by Tim Ferriss.
Yeah. So the most tremendously boring book I've ever read. I understand why it's so highly recommended.
Skip meetings. Yeah,
skip meetings. It's like hire an assistant, get them to check your emails, and market test your shit before you launch it.
Yeah,
like it's like basically there's the whole book right there.
Yep. You're welcome, people.
Yeah, you're welcome. What's that service, Blinkist, where like someone this is a sponsorship by Blinkist for anyways, so he has this chapter in there where he's like, oh, what you should do instead of just starting a business is take 3 different business ideas. Like maybe you're selling some supplements, or you have some drop shipping things, or Ray-Bans knockoffs, or like there are always these shitty ass business ideas too. Like fucking dog shit.
Ray-Bans, that's it.
It's like we just sell like bread clips. I don't know.
The world needs freshness right now.
So he's like make 3 different websites like really quickly, like Squarespace style. I mean, I think you wrote this book in 2005, so it was like,
it's pretty dated now.
Pretty dated. And go and run some Google ads on there. And nobody ever followed, even people who did start businesses because of Tim Ferriss, nobody ever followed this advice, which is actually the best advice he ever gave. And everybody knows, they're like, because the logic of it makes so much sense. You're like, right, because like you put $500 into ads, these 3 things, and you see just which one sells on its own. Like you haven't even optimized it. Like you haven't even done a good job. Like just see which one based on the market, which is like the hardest force to overcome. So like you better get this right first, is like what do people want and what's easy to sell and like what's profitable. And it's like, okay, well my Ray-Ban sunglasses, I made like $50 and I spent like $200 on those ads. And then like my bread clips, I spent $200, but I made like $200. And then I don't remember what my third example was, my like earpiece gel.
Mhm.
Like I spent $200 and like we made like $500. And it's like, and I put the same effort into all of them. And then you're like, damn, like I could have chosen that $50.
Yeah.
Exercise. Oh, you just froze for a second there. Did I lose you? We're
Yeah.
good?
No,
Okay,
we're
okay,
good.
cool.
Yeah.
Like why am I pushing this boulder uphill on like these shitty Ray-Bans knockoffs when I could be selling earpiece gel that's like 10 times the profit?
Mhm.
And like the logic of that is great, and nobody fucking does it because it's like it's actually quite a bit of work.
Okay.
So the nice thing about Facebook ads is like you can do that same test, but you can do it for like $30. Like,
Oh, okay.
so cheap, man, to run just tiny little tests. So, I mean, if I was going to start a business, I would pick like 20 different products and do them all. Like I would just go balls to the wall and get it. But like, dude, I have this where like I have clients and like they're, people always advertise like an ebook, right? And it's like a way to get people to subscribe into your list.
Yeah.
And like I have clients where literally I just changed the headline and it's like, this headline for your ebook was $25 per lead, and this headline was $2.
Oh, wow.
And it's like, so it's trying to start at that, like that top level. Like, I have this saying that's, if you're going to test something, liken it to trying to find a needle in a forest.
Okay.
First, make sure you're in the right forest.
Yeah.
Then make sure you're at the right tree. Then
Mhm.
make sure you're at the right branch, and then the leaves. So it's like, if you know which leaf it's at in which forest, it's very fucking easy to find that needle, right?
Yeah,
But it's like, if you're in the wrong forest, like you will never, ever find it.
Mhm.
So it's like, and what it's talking about is like, what is the thing that makes the most impact? Like if you're like in MMA, it's like, is grappling all the time like the best thing? Or is like, I don't know, frickin' studying or watching YouTube, like which is the thing that actually makes the biggest difference? I'm assuming like some sort of actual, like, tell me, like, what do you think makes the biggest difference? Like, if you had to focus on only one thing, you were not allowed to have a well-rounded ability, what would you focus on?
If it was only just one thing, I really think that the thing to focus on would be just wrestling in that kind of way.
Just
because
like,
then, just like taking somebody, like standing up to then taking them down onto the ground. Because like, across the board, like right now in terms of the metagame, that's kind of what is the most dominant. Like, I mean, Habib being the best example. I mean, he's not just a wrestler, but that's like the majority of what he does to control, like from there. Yeah.
Right. Got you. Like, why do you think that is more important than the other things? Like, why is that the 80?
Yeah. I think that's the 80-20 just because of how like throughout, like, because you're talking about like multiple fields. Because I think in terms of like the stand up, that's like when both people are standing, the party, it's still like, that's still most important, being able to change the direction of where the fight is going. And I think that's the most important thing, like the ability to control where the fight's going. Yeah, exactly. Right. So that you have the momentum on your side. Like from there.
Yeah, right. Momentum. That's a great thing. Like, not fighting uphill. And it's like, people want to fight uphill, I think, because it was the first idea they had.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, this is the thing that I was good at. Like, this was my idea. Like, I mean, when we started that podcast, it was going to be a metal podcast.
A metal podcast.
Yeah. Because like my two buddies were like, they're total metal heads. Like they look the part and everything, even though they're like super funny dudes. Although I don't know what that has anything to do with anything. And like the first day, we did 5 pilot episodes because I had heard that advice, like make 5 episodes, don't ever publish them.
Okay.
And like, holy shit, was that the best advice I ever got? Like, those first 5 episodes are atrocious, man. I've gone back and listened to the first few episodes we ever published, and I'm like, man, these are rough. Like, I like, these are already pretty rough. Like, imagining what those first 5 pilot episodes. But the pilots give you like, you're able to experiment. You're like, I had a different theme song, and like we were able to talk about it and be like, hey, this theme song sucks. Like, it's too dark. Like it was like kind of it's like this like post metal like theme song. I wrote like more of a synthwave one with like really heavy like bass, like from Commando. Like he's always, I don't know, like, and I really wanted steel drums in there, like too. But yeah, anyway, so like we're in, like if we had already launched the show, I would have been like, oh no, we're stuck with it. Like this, people have already heard it, like whatever.
Yeah.
So again, like that experimenting before you publish, before you ship it is really, really, really useful. I think I lost my point, but oh well.
Yeah, I think your point, Andrew, was like talking about like starting like starting like a business venture or like a podcast idea, and then what you would do like to get it off the ground. Yeah.
Yeah, that quick experimentation is vital. So it's gone.
It's gone, and it's gone. Yeah. Yeah. So I guess, because you talked about, I guess, like your, like how you look at our ads, how you look at like marketing, talk about Facebook ads. I guess in terms of, so when you mention like testing, like how are you like what exactly is like the analytics that you're looking at?
Right.
Yeah.
So if you're going to test something, because like people get really caught up on this because it's like, okay, so like let me give you an example in the marketing world, and then I'll make a translation. Maybe you can think of some things that maybe we can apply this to, because I can totally do some thought experiments with you.
Okay.
So if you have a landing page, which is just a page people go to from an ad, you click on an ad, you go to the website, whatever that page is, they call it a landing page. It's just because you landed there. So it's like a pretty relative term. Typically they're like, if you're like trying to get emails, you want to get 100 people to sign up to that before you like have a really statistically significant like idea. You're like, okay, 100 people showed up, 5 of them converted into like an email. That's a 5% conversion rate. So it's like, I need frickin', I don't know, like, how do I get 100 people? I need like frickin' like 5,000 people to show up to this website, or like 2,000. Like I need a lot of people to show up before you're like, okay, that's a static number. Cause usually like your first feedback is going to be a little bit different. Like you have 100 people show up, 5% convert. So you have 1,000 people show up, that 5% is probably going to drop to like a 3%. Like it's like the more numbers come in, it kind of like equalizes down a little bit. So he's like, okay, if you're going to run 2 versions of this page to see which one converts better, you're going to need 100 conversions on each page. It's like you just spent like $5,000 getting like enough people to get like 100. In industry standard conversion rate is like 2%. Like I run landing pages that convert at like 30-35% sometimes. So he's like, you got to spend like $5,000 just to run a friggin' test. And like for me, it's like, that is a waste of time and a waste of money. Like you're spending a month like friggin' just trying to run one test. Try to run very small tests and look for the signal. Like you're not going to get a statistically significant sample, but if you're looking for the signal of, and what I mean by signal is like you're seeing lots of people respond. It's like, hey, like I ran this Facebook ad and like 5% of people clicked on it, and then this other one only 1% clicked on, and it's like, okay, like that you're seeing signal, like people are interested in what you're putting out there. And like I have things where people like 20% of people are clicking on them, and then like my other headline, like 0.5 of a percent are clicking on them, where it's just like, damn, people are not interested in that. So it's like you don't need to run it to very many people to see if there's some signal coming. And like, yeah, there could be some false positives in there, but the fact that you're able to run so many more tests and just keep like hitting the ground running and just moving, like you're going to get somewhere really, really, really quickly too. So, like, I mean, heck, I have this stupid satirical Facebook ad, and it's like, do I put it at the beginning of the episode to like make a splash when I walk in? Do I like put it in the middle of the episode? It's like every podcast, I'm going to try something different. You know, like maybe I need to shorten it because it's like too long or something like that. Like I, read the facial expressions, like try to get testing really, really quickly. Yeah, if you're like doing a new business idea, like I would just talk to people. Honestly,
what? Yeah.
Like I would talk to somebody and tell like, okay, let's say I'm not going to test 20 different business ideas, and I'm just going to test. I could like run a bunch of ads, but say like you're not like a super ad wizard. It's like I would talk to people and just look to see if their eyes glaze over. Are they interested? Like, are they saying, oh, that's interesting. Oh, that's pretty interesting. Or are they like, oh, how does that work? Like, tell me more about that. Like if somebody says that's interesting, like that is like, that person did not find that very interesting. Like if they're interested, they'd be like, well, what do you mean by that? Like, what is that? Like, sorry, go back and explain that. Like, like you're gonna like, like an actual signal or whatever. So like
you'll figure out interest from there. Yeah.
Like, I mean, I don't say that's interesting when somebody tells me about like some new music technique. I'm like, that's interesting. That solves like 10 of my problems that I'm grinding my teeth to dust trying to solve. That's very interesting. Like, I'm like, give me that shit now, bitch. So like, so what type of stuff are you like talking about with people right now? Like what type of concepts are you on? Like, help, like, let's turn, I want to,
like
towards, let's get the channel off of me so that I can hear.
Oh no, for sure. No, it's interesting. Well, especially in terms of like marketing and just like this brief conversation with you that leads me to really like, oh man, how am I actually testing? Like, I'm not really looking at any analytics or, I mean, kind of, but I don't really have any measurables in terms of.
Right. Does SoundCloud have like a drop off?
Yeah. So SoundCloud, it has, cause I'm on several like, I guess streaming platforms like SoundCloud, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts, like Stitcher. But when I look at analytics, it only shows for like the one platform. Like I can see how many plays are on SoundCloud, but then I have to look at something else to see how many plays are on like Spotify. So it's not like a central kind of thing. Like,
here's where I would start with the podcast is go, where do you mainly post? Like on Instagram? Like where
mainly post like on Instagram, like and Facebook.
Facebook is dead. Like,
it's dead,
Instagram is like, so what I would do is go on your Instagram and make 3 posts for this episode and write 3 different headlines.
3 different headlines. Okay.
Yeah, 3 different headlines. Because the headline is everything, man. Like it's
got it.
Yeah. So like, I know, like, okay, well, let me look at what you got right now.
In terms of, because mainly what I've been doing is just stories, not really a lot of like direct posts like from there.
Yeah, they could be stories too. No, stories are great. Yeah. Like, I don't care what it is, like whatever you think that people are already responding to. Okay. So like the last episode that I see here, no, this is like from Facebook. This is super dated. Here, let me get to your Instagram. Well, I can just go, I'll just do this one. This is like from February. It says, the episode title is episode 109 featuring Nick Dundas, Phil Burton, and Chase Murphy. That's your ringer to like try to get people to listen to your podcast. So try that one. And then try something else like, I don't know what you guys talked about in that one. Like if you were going to do like our podcast, like you would be like I would try something like, try the plain one that's just try some like edgy thing, like where maybe you're swearing in the title. Just like
fucking drywall.
On the podcast that we had, I would try like the way that I found like worked. And again, like I don't think that this was, I actually developed this method after we shut down that podcast. Once I had a kid, I was like, I don't have time for a fucking podcast. 8 hours of like every week for me to do this. So like sometimes it would be just like, episode 50, Black Panther or something like that. But sometimes I would be like, episode 61, Tiptoes with Gary Oldman. Also throwing bombs out on the street where they belong. Like, Episode 58, iRobot and videotaping yourself masturbating and watching it as pornography. Oh man, that story was so funny. Sorry, I gotta get out of the glory days here, man. So like testing stuff like that, like if you like find a salacious tidbit, like you can put that in, or like, I mean, it's like Pankration Philosophy, like it's, if depending on your audience, and you would know them best, it's like maybe they like, what's the deeper part of this? It's like, how to I don't know. I mean, I think how to start your own business is fucking dumb. That's like really like overdone thing. Although I see people spending literally $100,000 a month on ads and not doing this.
Wow. Okay.
Like big corporations, like people at the highest level make these mistakes still. And it's like, I mean, like, when you get up to like Coca-Cola and stuff, they do have a lot of different people doing tests on different things, but like they still screw it up. Like people screw it up everywhere. everywhere you look. I mean, they're doing it in different degrees, and you know, like I'm not saying like everybody's fools or something like that, but it's like, yeah, I've worked with like freaking like New York, you know, fancy ass ad executive.
Yeah.
And I'm working. I worked with this lady last summer, and she drove me fucking nuts, man. Total nightmare client. She was so anal retentive, and like all the shit that she cared about didn't matter. Like none of it would make the ads better. Like it was just
Yeah.
like she was always like really, I mean, like it's not like she was like super detail oriented, but it was just like getting caught up with like a little piece of punctuation and not like, yeah, I don't know. Like I'm not saying that she was totally incompetent. But it's like when you have to start writing proposals for people in a bureaucracy and stuff, and you have to like cover so much stuff. And it's like, dude, like 80% of the time we spent on this project was just writing a friggin' proposal. And like, I get that. Like, like I get that people need to be able to like understand the project that they're giving you money for. But like, there is a certain point where like that bureaucracy folds in on itself.
Got it. Yeah.
It becomes very ineffective. And it's like, I made 18 tests this week, and if I had to write proposals in the way that I may have had to in the past to justify those tests, it would take me like 3 months.
Oh, gee.
I could have just done them in a week.
Yeah.
And we didn't even spend like $200 on all of these tests.
Okay.
You know, it's like not even that much money. And
Yeah.
it's, yeah, so people, but like everybody wants to cover their own ass. Like you're on some board, like, you know, you're in charge of the budget. Like you don't want your boss to be mad at you or like your shareholders. Everybody's covering their own ass. And like, we have this huge bureaucracy, just people that it's like, nobody will do anything that makes any sense because they don't want to be liable.
Yeah. Yeah. Right? They don't want to be at risk like from there.
Yeah. It's just this huge, like we have, I mean, in like a Western nation, like we just have this huge culture of non-liability.
Yeah.
it's like a huge problem. Like, you know, it moves, it's in like every level of our government and like every level of like your corporations. And like, yeah, occasionally you get people who can think kind of smart about it. Yeah. And it's like, and people want it. Like they don't want to have to be stuck in that, but they're just like, you know, what else am I going to do? I'm going to open up myself up to some lawsuit or something like that. Or, you know, I'm going to get fired from my job for doing something smart. And I mean, whatever. I'm being an asshole, but
no, but that's kind of a good point because it's kind of, because that's what prevents them from being agile in that sense. Cause they're kind of stuck in like, from being like risk averse, like from there. It's like,
they need to develop a philosophy, an agile philosophy that they just need to put a portion of their budget to.
Yeah.
So we're spending $10,000 a month. We're going to put 2,000 of it is going to go just to tests. And it's going to get wasted. Like we don't expect to get any return on that, but we're going to use those tests to feed our $8,000 in tests. And I feel like that is a philosophy that you can integrate into a bureaucracy. It's all they want is budgets assigned to things with goals of those budgets. It's like, this is the goal is to increase the results from this budget. It's research, and people can do research and development in a corporation. Like we know that that's possible. Justify that to shareholders. Like it's like people understand the idea of investing something. So it's like, but people don't have it. There's like, hey, we have $10,000. We're going to find the best ad agency to run these. And the best ad agency is the guy who can just dazzle us with fucking $5 words. Like, you know, and it's just like, like I remember like working for that lady, I literally couldn't do a good job.
Oh, wow.
Like I, you know, I've probably spent about $15,000 on education in the last year. And I could be literally the best marketer in the entire goddamn world. And I never would have been able to make something work working with that person.
Oh, wow.
You know what I mean? Like, it's you need so much control over it. You need so many reports written over every little justification. It's like, so let me give you an example. Like on Facebook, the audience you target is very important. Like it's like you create an ad and it's like usually an image or a video and then like some text description. Like that's one half of your ads. And the other half is like, well, who sees the ad? And it's like, well, we want a bunch of rich fuck doctors to see the ad. So like, you know, people interested in this magazine, or it's like, oh, we want a bunch of skateboarders to see our ads, so we're gonna like do people interested in these sorts of pages, or like we want parents who just had a baby a year ago and are going on vacation next month. You can actually target somebody by that specific of a parameter, by the way. So like you test out lots of different audiences, and it's like, okay, I want you to write me a report of the 3 audiences that we're going to use for the next 6 months so the board can approve the audience. It's like, dude, when I'm doing tests, I'll test a new audience every damn day. like I can't write a report. Like, are you kidding me right now? Like, it's like God, it just drives me nuts, dude. Like, it's just the attention too, and just like, I've been doing this for 20 years. I know how to advertise.
Got it.
Yeah, you don't know how fucking Facebook works, you dumb shit. Anyways, everybody hire me.
Hire this man. No, but I definitely see what you mean, especially just from like the martial arts perspective. It's like that fixed mindset. If you think like you know everything, then you stop learning. Like from there, if you stop learning, you're left behind.
As to get a philosophy reference into this philosophy podcast, as Slavoj Žižek says, we're from the trash can of ideology. And the moment where you feel like you can finally see clearly, like you've taken the blinders off, is precisely when you're in the heart of ideology. That's when you're caught in its grips. I don't know if you've ever seen that. He has that Pervert's Guide to Ideology. It was on Netflix a few years ago.
Okay.
You never seen any Žižek?
No, I have not. Yeah, Pervert's Guide to Ideology. You gotta check it out now.
Oh, you gotta. Yeah, so it's like it's basically like this film essay where he goes through all these so the first one he's talking about is They Live. You ever seen that, John Carpenter's They Live? Yeah. So he's talking. So his point is, you know, the whole idea of like this campy, satirical They Live is this guy finds these sunglasses. When you put on the sunglasses, I'm saying this for your listeners, not to patronize you. When you put on the sunglasses, you can see the hidden ideology and the hidden messages. So he looks at a billboard that's advertising, you know, like a vacation, go to the Bahamas, you know, like get tan, blah, blah, blah. He puts on the glasses, and instead he sees a text that says marry and reproduce. He looks at a guy who wants some money from him, and he's got a bunch of $1 bills in his hand. He puts on the glasses, and the bills say, I am your God. You know, so it's very campy. Like, you know, like it's not exactly subversive satire, right? That's where I think that brand Obey comes from, because he looks at a billboard and it says Obey. And white. It's really awesome. Like the visuals are so iconic. And then the movie ends up being basically Invasion of the Body Snatchers, where it's like there's all these aliens. He puts on the glasses, and there's aliens amongst us who are controlling us, which is it's so awesome. And then he just goes and kills them all with like a shotgun. And that's where you get that line. I'm here to kick ass and chew bubble gum, and I'm all out of bubble gum. So Žižek talks about it, basically that his beef with John Carpenter is basically what I said. You put on the glasses, now you see everything clearly.
Oh, that's when you're caught.
When you don't see things clearly. That's precisely when you are caught in the grips of ideology. Your lens is so fully distorted that you think that you see the world clearly. Like, I think that's what is happening a lot today with like the polarization in politics and stuff. And it's like, oh, like everybody, like the stronger and like angrier you feel about it, it's like, it's not a real righteous anger like you think it is. It's like you're actually like you have like ideology has pulled you in and like digested you and shit you out, and now you are a piece of shit. And, like,
you're like spinning in the funnel, like from
like I mean, no wonder people like choose to be nihilistic instead. It's like, well, this doesn't matter. I'm not going to vote. Like none of this. Who cares? Because it's like, God, like without a like pretty concrete philosophy to combat that, like what are you? I don't know what type of defense you have really. Like in choosing not to care is the obvious choice, like without some real grappling with the material. And so I love Žižek's take on that. I think it's like it's super brilliant. There's that awesome scene in They Live. I'm basically giving away the first part of this, but it's super interesting. So there's a scene in They Live where Roddy Piper, the wrestler, is like the main character. And he I think it's Michael Keith. He's also in The Thing, and he was in the newest episode of Community. Michael Keith is man. Keith David, holy shit, I just called him Keith David. Michael Keith, man.
Michael Keith.
So he's like, you got to put on these glasses. You got to see like what I'm seeing with this thing. And he doesn't want to put it on the glasses. And like this fight scene, dude, is like 10 minutes long. They're just in an alleyway and like, they're just punching each other like in the face, like back and forth. And like, it is an odd, like people would be like, damn, that fight scene is going on way too long. Like, I don't know what's going on. But the point that Zizek makes, he says like people don't want to, they don't want to see like the, you know, to open up to seeing what they're being influenced by, like is actually a very painful experience, even though like he has that aforementioned part where he's saying you're not really seeing it, but like, you know, you have to like balance multiple viewpoints at the same time to take that in. But it's like, people don't want to be exposed. And like, and there's a reason that scene is so violent. And I love that sort of expression in film where it's like, you can watch it and have no fucking idea what's going on. But if you look at the themes underneath and like, and really think about it, you're like, damn, that's some brilliant shit. Like John Carpenter, like my favorite 80s director, dude. Big Trouble in Little China.
In Little China. Yeah.
Escape from New York.
Yeah.
Obviously the original Halloween. So anyways.
Nice.
Oh, man. So you guys like what you guys talk about? Like, what are you exploring lately? Like, are you reading anything, or like what's kind of on your mind? What's your YouTube circle?
The YouTube circle that I'm looking at. Let's see. Mainly I look at
Ben Shapiro.
You know, just MAGA, make America great again.
Just election highlights.
Oh man, I actually did I have some comedian friends, and they did I did a comedy cameo on them, like News Tonight, where I played like a Trump supporter. Awesome. And what Trump supporters solely for like inciting violence and like a revolution, like from there, like, oh, you don't support his politics? I'm like, nah, I'm just here for the violence in the streets.
I like it. But I mean, I think you could put that on both sides too. But
exactly,
I love. Dude, satire has become a very weird thing to me.
Oh yes,
because it's like the whole like we're like 100% in like the simulacra with like satire now. Like I go back and like I've been reading 1984 again recently. I think I started it when that NSA thing happened, so that's about how I started the book. And like you do still get that brilliant feeling from it. Like a lot of satire today, like you don't get that feeling from it because it's just it's very easy to do. Like people, like we're so programmed now to be able to like extrapolate something. Like I think just through memes, like it's like it's almost just second nature to be able to like to come up with that sort of stuff now. And I don't even know what it fucking is anymore. Like, you know, like The Onion and Clickhole, like, do you know how much Hard Times? And I got a video game, Hard Times, called The Hard Drive. It's actually really good. But it's like, I must see 200 satirical news headlines a day. I see so much satire that it's just like, I don't even know what satire is anymore. Like satire
bombarded by it.
It used to be this thing that people didn't get. Like you'd post, like I remember I did this satirical video. So in our town we have like, it's kind of a Bible Belt town.
Okay.
And our newspaper, like especially the Chilliwack Progress is like very much like, they have a few reporters who are very much like not like that. Like they're super atheistic or whatever. And so we were trying to, like the town was trying to put in like a youth homeless shelter. And like one of the buildings there was a building that was really, really suitable. Like you have a bunch of experts who have to analyze these buildings to like see like, does this work like for a layout? And it was like some coffee shop in town that had been around forever. So, and like, I guess their lease was up. So they were like, well, the owners were like, well, you know, like we could let the youth homeless shelter take over this place. Like that would be pretty fine. And the owner of the coffee shop is like, I don't even care. Like, I'll just go to another location. Like, it's not really a big deal. Like he wasn't like, oh my God, they're like making me leave this place that I've been here, or like whatever. He was like, I'm already kind of thinking about it. But dude, the news headline that comes in our newspaper is like, local churches evict successful downtown business or whatever. And like, dude, like I used to get in these like 500 comment Facebook like, you know, posts or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, how are churches evicting? It's like a youth homeless shelter. They're like, well, some churches were funding that youth homeless shelter. And it's like, so the churches are the villains for like funding the homeless youth? Like,
how dare they?
What world are you living in here? And like,
Yeah.
and like, there's always this brigade of people here who will be like, who are like, they're so frustrated with like the conservative atmosphere that they're just like willing to hate on anything that sounds conservative. And they're like, yeah, like you can't evict them. Like, listen, if somebody's lease runs out and like it just doesn't get renewed, that's not an eviction. Like an eviction is like it's like, you know, like I have roommates, like I run a house, I have a bunch of roommates, and it's like occasionally someone's a bad fit, and like I'm like, hey man, like you're kind of pissing off everybody here. Like in the next like 2 or 3 months, just try to see if you can find another place to like move to. And it's like, that's not an eviction. Like, it's and like, that's actually way more egregious than what happened in this coffee shop. If it's like, hey, man, like you're a violent fucking weirdo and you need to leave this weekend, that's an eviction. You know, like it's like, and I remember getting in arguments with people and they're like literally arguing that like down to that granular detail. And it's like, dude, like, do you even know anything? Something like that. I put it on YouTube and like people were upset, dude. Like people were like, my pastor called me, like, you have to take down this video. Like everyone's way too upset about this. Like, cause I think there were like a few churches who were actually like, they really wanted the shelter to succeed. Turns out like that some people who like go to church like are not just like evil.
What? Shocking.
Like it was this huge inflammatory thing, like turns into this like whole conversation. So the homeless shelter has to go to a way shittier building as a result. Like it was super shitty what had happened. Like just from these fucking dipshit inflammatory journalists.
They were just like spewing
they're just like throwing this fire at it. And and it's like, and I know that these guys feel so righteous about it.
Oh, for sure.
I'm just doing like a fine, you know, I'm able to really turn this town around. Like
fighting the good fight.
Fighting the good fight. These hillbilly, like backwards, you know, slope-headed, knuckle dragging Neanderthals in like this like conservative town, trying to help these homeless youth when like they should really be using the right pronouns for people. Like that's like, I mean, fine to be nice to people and be respectful to them in person or whatever, but it's like, you know, people literally not starving on the street, like I think might take priority in this case.
Just a little bit.
Anyways, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but
no worries. And then I mean, probably just due to time constraints, we're gonna have to wrap it up pretty quick. But Andrew, is there anything, like any parting words or any ways, like if someone was watching this and wanted to like contact you, like what's the best way? Like
I have a website, Andrew Muller Creative, MULLER. We used to have umlauts over the U because it's like my family's from Germany, but turns out that after the war, people didn't like Germans. We got rid of those right away. Even though we're like literally like my Oma's like having people like her family shot in front of her by like, you know, like just like one of those stories, you're like peeing on your feet to stay warm and shit. Like, you know, like, and it's just like, and now you're being discriminated against, like in your
umlauts. No.
Umlauts. Anyways, if you happen to have some sort of C-level executive like listening to your podcast, reach out to me and like, let's do some ads.
That's exactly the target I'm reaching.
Rock your world. With these. Hey, thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you so much for your time, Andrew. All right, guys. Bye, everybody. All right.